Hello, everybody, and welcome to our last session of the day. We have Joe Murphy with us, and he's going to be doing a session on DS106 Radio, Friday Night Tunes, and the Ephemeral Web. I'm a big fan of DS106 Radio myself, so I've been looking forward to this one. So without further ado, Joe, I'll turn it over to you, and I'll see you at the end of the session.
Great. Thanks so much, Jason. I am currently looking at my presentation, so if there's interesting stuff in the chat, please do break in and let me know. Or I'll just go through and we'll see where we get. So yeah, I'm Joe Murphy, and on Friday nights, I am a DS106 radio DJ for a show that I finally settled on needed a name because giving it a different name every week was confusing people. So I am the DJ for Friday Night Tunes. And I've been at this for over 4 years now. It's gone from being just kind of a lark to being a hobby to, at this point, I really think of it as a regular artistic practice to curate a playlist and a show for people who want to listen. It's also attracted some of my friends and family who are regular listeners. It's started or reinvigorated discussions about music with them, which has been a lot of fun. So what is the point of this presentation? What I was thinking about is that when we think about the web, I think we're mostly thinking about text, about images, about recorded audio and video, things that are artifacts, things that are in some ways a snapshot of a piece of time. But what I'd like to do is think about what I've decided to call the ephemeral web, which is what's the nature of an event which is happening on the web and through the web, but leaves maybe very few public artifacts. I mean, this is a show that literally gets transmitted to somebody else's speakers and is gone. And it leaves records in some other places, which range from the incomplete to the inscrutable. So I want to think a little bit about what the role is of kind of the auto-deleting web, the immediately disappearing event on the web. But the show does have a digital footprint, that exists in a couple of different channels. And my trained as a librarian heart just wants to make sense of it, because right now it's just kind of a mess. So I have questions of the relationship of this event in time and the public and private records of it. The TLDR was I needed a reason to think about whether I was going to actually start a website for this show or not. And I took the call for proposals as a reason to do that. So I want to start actually by thanking two of the show's intellectual or spiritual godfathers. This is my friend Matt Gladue and his wife, Anna Gladue Meek. Matt's response to the COVID lockdown was to start an online show where he played music through Facebook Live. He called it Worker Playtime after a Billy Bragg album. And he would, just get online and play songs. It had a very DS106 ethos in that it just started as, I think I can pull this off. And it was interesting over the years that he was doing it to see how his technical competency was growing, his goals were changing from his first attempts, so it was both an inspiration from the show in the sense that I could also just kind of get on and be good enough to share with people I already know and like. So that was a spiritual prompt for me. And then it was actually the direct cause of me having a show because Matt got appendicitis and put a message out on Facebook, said, no show this week, having surgery. And I'd been dinking around with maybe I could make this DS106 radio thing work enough that I felt confident in saying to his friends, I will do the Get Well Matt show if you will come over here and listen to it. So my first show really was subbing for Matt. I also owe a great deal of thought to Sean Decatur, who at the time was the president of Kenyon College, he's now the president of the American Museum of Natural History in New York. And he wrote this blog post on September 24th, 2021, where he talked about the fact that sometimes he has dark moments and he goes to music to kind of soothe him in those moments, or when he needs to pick me up or whatever. I don't remember specifically what was going on, although from the date I can kind of reconstruct that I was probably facing both personal and professional challenges. And this was, a night when I just said, I don't think I have it in me. I don't feel like putting together a playlist, and I'm just not going to do it. And right before I left work, Sean released this blog post, or I got around to reading it. And I remember going home and walking the dog and, missing my normal time and saying, no, it's just good for you to do this show. It makes you feel better when you do it. Sean's right. Go spend some time with the music that gives you life. The hard part of having a practice is not the first time. It's the do it the night that you don't want to. And I just wanted to acknowledge that even though it certainly wasn't his intention, but by modeling it as a leader, that even leaders have bad days, and that we can do something about that. This was really critical. There's some chance that if I'd stopped, I don't know when I would have picked it up again. So when you tell people that you're a DJ, they tend to ask you, what do you play? And the beautiful thing about freeform radio for a person with very broad tastes is that the answer is, I play whatever I want. And this is a screen capture of the playlists directory in the broadcasting software that I use, which is called Mix with 3 X's. And you can see on there that there's a big mix, sorry for the pun, between genre-based shows with R&B and soul and blues. Got a couple of holidays for Halloween and Mardi Gras, and I happened to do one for Women's History Day. Actually, Denny's Early Bird Dance Party, again, is the name for my 80s pop show. I'll do shows of new or new to me music, and then the older music that it reminds me of. Sometimes I'll just do an album playthrough. Briefly considered renaming the show to Friday Night Wakes earlier this year when I felt I'd done too many salutes to artists who'd passed away in the recent past. That's why Garth Hudson and Marianne Faithfull are on there. One of the more fun things that I do are things that I think of as keyword searches through my library, which, you see up at the top, rewilding. I think at least 3 DS106 DJs have done some version of songs with wild in the title this spring in the lead up to this very conference. My favorite one of those actually is named in here the Prime Directive, and it is songs with prime numbers in them. And there is still a genuine DS106 no prize available to the person who finds a higher number than the highest that I was able to find talking to people on Facebook and Twitter at the time, which is the interesting fact that 8675309 is a prime. So if you can beat that, let me know. The challenge of not having a genre is kind of interesting. It really forces a kind of mindful, creative attention to pay, to notice what's crossing your path. What have I been paying attention to, hearing? What are the pieces that I could build a whole show around? There is also, in this job of writing a playlist, there's also a matter of deciding what part of my voice I want to offer. Usually this really isn't much more than deciding how family-friendly or not a particular show is going to be. My parents listen to this show. I have to think about some of the songs that I play. Sorry. Buffering. Sometimes the choice of voice is more consequential. One of the, I guess it's fallen off this screenshot, but I did a salute to a friend of mine who is a singer-songwriter who died. And there are certain of her songs that I knew I couldn't play because I wasn't going to be able to announce them afterwards. I don't mind wearing my emotions on my sleeve, but I know that ugly crying is bad radio. Some of you, I think it is interesting the way that curating a playlist is an oblique way for me to talk about things that are going on personally or locally or globally. As one example, some of you may be aware that the college eliminated my position and, in fact, the whole teaching and learning center due to budget reasons in May. That happened on a Thursday. I was not ready to talk about it on Friday. Fortunately, I was going through old podcast episodes and ran across the All Songs Considered podcast from NPR that was doing a songs we listen to when we're really deep in our feelings episode. And I listened to it, and it's a good episode, and it was not at all where I wanted to go. I didn't want to be in my feelings. And I wrote a playlist of kind of the songs that I use to reload my heart, the songs that remind me that I'm alive and there's hope. That playlist, in fact, is called Clear. The next week, I actually was able to talk about the pain of the layoff more directly, oddly with a playlist that I had started with the hopes that it would give solace to friends who were going through hard times. I could not stick the landing for that when I was worrying about other people's feelings, but when I was talking about myself, I was able to do it. So there is a lot of discovery and self-discovery. Most of it not so emotionally heavy, but some of it is kind of an awareness of who I am and where I'm coming from as I write these things. So these ideas become playlists, usually literally minutes before the show. I make them in this piece of software called Mix with 3 X's because it's free and open source. And when I started this journey, I didn't know if I was going to want to spend money on an Icecast broadcasting software like Audio Hijack. So I grabbed the free one, and now it's got momentum, and I'm kind of set in my ways. Afterwards, I do export the playlists and import them into Apple Music to have them as part of my listening history, even though I almost never listen to them again. When I'm researching for the show, I accumulate a lot of open tabs so I know maybe who wrote a song, who performed on it, a story about its recording. And these usually, again, get closed during the show as I finish them. Or sometime later. I have an open tabs problem. I record the shows locally. And again, I almost never listen to them. So there's a lot of additional digital stuff on this. I've also been getting into more scripted material as part of the show. I've written a couple of monologues when I knew that I wanted to tell a particular story in a particular way. I've read some poems and some other people's short stories or essays. The stuff I've written probably continues to exist on my Google Drive or in my hard drive somewhere. The pieces by other people, again, were in tabs that probably got closed. So this has really made me think about the way that the playlist is an incomplete record of my plan for the show. What am I doing on time? So sometimes in the afternoon before the show, I will make a Facebook page and tell my friends, what the show is going to be about, and remind them that it's 7 p.m. Eastern. And I'll also ping there's a Discord channel for DS106 DJs. Happy to spread that around if people want to reach out. And I'll let people know there, which is mostly to make sure that there's no tripping over each other. And I'll let them know that it's coming on. Sometimes I remember to copy it over to Mastodon. I used to tell Twitter, but oh well. And I haven't really committed to Blue Sky. So I mostly advertise the show through my existing social networks. I will get set up in this very room. You can see my very high-tech mic stand.
Hey, Joe. I think we lost your audio.
Now back.
You're back now. Yep.
Probably shouldn't have moved the whole laptop. So I will, wait to see who's showing up. I frequently get 6 to 10 listeners, so it actually kind of feels like a manageable little party. I got close to 20 once, and it was honestly a little disconcerting. The Icecast server has a map of listeners whose IP addresses it can geolocate, and I've started to figure out which pins are likely to match which people. So that's kind of fun. Some folks are just there to listen, or I don't know. I don't hear from them, so maybe it's just kind of on in the background while they do other things because it's radio. Some folks do actually sit there and chat while the music is playing, which again adds to what feels to me like a listening party, all hanging out together vibe. So I'll see usually messages on Facebook, sometimes in Discord, sometimes actual texts to my phone. And folks are chiming in to say, I liked that song. Here's what's going on in my world. Here's a story about a time that I saw the artist you're playing. It's still what Bonnie Stewart earlier today called one-to-many conversation. It's rare that there's anything more than maybe like an emoji reaction between listeners. They're mostly talking to me, and I'm mostly responding to them. But it's certainly a very different experience when that's happening than when people are being quiet or not many people tuned in, and it is mostly just me sitting there and listening and seeing what happens. I should say I truly love taking requests and suggestions for future listening. Again, I have broad tastes, so it's easy for me to think my friends and family also have great taste. And even when I don't love every one of their suggestions, I love them because they sent them. I kind of wish there were a better way for me to track the provenance of my MP3 collection. In the blogging community of practice session, Bonnie Stewart called this a pedagogical conversation. This is the group teaching one another about about a common interest, about interesting opportunities to listen to music. It makes me hugely happy that I know that my show has been directly responsible for selling tickets to see at least one of the bands that I like to play. I know that it's sold albums by the folks who are on the show. So again, I think of this as where the rewilding is happening, where we're taking back from the very algorithmic playlist. And I have some very algorithmic playlists. It's no particular shade on that. But I do think that the moment when we're actually trading information has a liberatory potential. We're actually breaking one another free from the from corporate control of music. All that said, as much as I enjoy them, Facebook comments are definitely not intended to be real-time chat. So the effect is chaotic. People will reply to the wrong post. Stuff won't show up. Notifications will or won't be followable. And then, of course, as you go back and try to reconstruct things, these conversations are natural and referential. Lots of, "Oh, I love this," and "Oh, I didn't know she covered that. And I saw them at the 930 Club once." So it becomes really difficult to figure out what people were talking about. And this also feeds my questions about, like, would that be any better if I had my own website, which I don't have an answer to. So that's the ephemeral web question. Do I want to lean into I should organize all this stuff and preserve it and understand it? Or do I want to kind of refuse to do my own enclosure on a wild, multi-channel, spontaneous, synchronous event and just live with that? A very small number of people have asked for recordings. my very favorite of those is that my son got a car and asked about getting some episodes on CD so he could have something to listen to. Very proud papa. But mostly people haven't asked. So while I've looked into questions about like how can I uh, legally host a show full of other people's copyrighted music, and there are options, but I think at the end of the day, I'm not actually convinced that they're anything that I am prepared to pay for, given that I may be the only person who thinks he's interested, and I was there the first time. The playlists do actually make it onto Spotify, either because I put them up later because people ask, or my friend Dan is a frequent listener who is frequently making the Spotify playlist as the show comes out, which is a neat little way for him to spend that hour of listening together. Some of my friends do report that they listen to those playlists. I kind of think of this as the guerrilla gardening version of rewilding. I'm kind of throwing little seed bombs of playlists at the algorithm, saying maybe tweak it this way. I do use that archive of playlists mostly because I have a personal rule not to have a heavy rotation for the show. And Mix is pretty good at telling me, hey, you played this a month or 2 months ago. I'm probably the only one who cares, but again, it's my show and I care. I have actually gotten some ribbing, not to apply that to holiday songs. My friend Dan wants to hear Bloodletting every Mardi Gras. So that's but that archive actually is interesting, and it was kind of painful that I lost the first 18 months or so of the show when I upgraded Mix the wrong way and it ate my library. So I've learned a little bit about backing up. So the conversation is happening where the people are, and as much as I've been thinking about, boy, I'd really love a call-in line. I'd love someplace where I could try to collect things in the future, or maybe people want to get their own voice on the show. I would love to have other voices on the show. But the truth is, I've had enough trouble trying to teach people how to go to listen.ds106radio.io that I'm not really optimistic that I can convince them that they should go to a completely different website because I like the chat box on that site better. And also, while I love the idea that I think I would like to have other voices on the show, I'd like to be able to ask people questions and get responses. My friends have not actually signed up for that work, and it's probably not wise for me to incur a bunch of technical debt when it could be just as easily solved by telling them to send a voicemail to my Gmail. So mostly, as I have done the thinking about this, I'm not sure that this is a show that needs a bigger digital presence. I think this is a little weekly kind of happy hour party thing, and that's what it should keep being. And maybe if I want to make commentary, I've already got a blog that doesn't have enough content on it. Those playlists would be embeddable there. And I feel like that's probably the answer for how this goes forward. So that's kind of the state of the show as of November 2025. Stop sharing and see if there's comments, questions, or anything, or if we good. Oh, okay. There is questions. All right. How has your musical taste changed over the course of doing your show? That's really neat. I don't know if, well, okay. Actually, I will say that kind of as a direct result of knowing that my dad is listening, I have picked up a lot more jazz. I'm still actually able to pull off a pretty good show just cribbing from the Ken Burns jazz set. But yeah, I've done a little bit more of research specifically into jazz. What is my go-to clear song to reload your heart? That's great. Let's Go Crazy. It's Let's Go Crazy by Prince. That's the answer. I don't know why I needed a whole I needed a whole playlist, because if I just got on and played Let's Go Crazy for an hour, somebody'd call in a well check. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Jason. I will look up Heavy Rotation. Yes, I'm glad somebody got the Buffy reference. Yes, Reclaim Open is definitely contributing to the open tabs problem. No Wu-Tang. I am aware that I need to get Terry Green to teach me more about hip hop, or Tom Witherspoon. I did at one time, actually, because I got an interesting dance remix of a folk artist. I ended up doing kind of a lo-fi vibes beats show, chill beats for cool kids kind of thing. But yeah, I have to admit that the Wu-Tang Clan has not made it on yet, so I need to work on that. Thanks all for sticking around. Mark, Grant. Start with Enter the 36 Chambers and go from there. Okay, will do. Well, thanks all so much for sticking around to the very end. And yeah, we'll I don't know. It sounds like, well, actually, I do know that Friday I'm definitely gonna work. Friday may be a salute to this event, so I don't know how I'm gonna get from Billy Bragg and Wilco covering Guthrie to Wu-Tang, but tune in Friday and find out. Mark, I'm happy to, Mark, I'm happy to give you the information as well. The answer is that you basically you need a piece of software that can broadcast to Icecast, and you need the server password. And yeah, you can get it from Jim, or I'd be happy to pass it on myself, because we definitely need more DJs.
All right, Joe, jump back in. Thank you so much for that. That was a great session.
Cool. Thank you
I love hearing about music and thinking about music and talking about music. So that was a nice way to end the day.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for everybody else who stuck around for the last session and hung out with us all day long. We will be back bright and early tomorrow morning for more sessions. And yeah, everybody have a wonderful night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right.
Thanks again, Joe.
Thanks.
Nom nom nom.